Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, fierce criticism from North Africa, but more caution from Sub-Saharan nations on the continent. We take a look at African responses to Donald Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Also, Zimbabwe pledges to curb spending and re-engage global lenders as it announces its first budget since the exit of Robert Mugabe. Many are hoping this is a turning point for the country's battered economy. And instability can be a particularly difficult hurdle to overcome when trying to woo foreign capital. 2 years on from the end of civil war, in Mali, security is still an issue, but it is hoping to highlight the young, forward-thinking spirit that exists in its young entrepreneurs. But first, US President Donald Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital has sparked international condemnation. In Africa, though, reactions have been mixed. North African leaders have strongly criticized the move, blaming the US for taking sides in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But countries in Sub-Saharan Africa have been more cautious. Clément Bonnereau tells us more.
It's a decision that has sparked global condemnation. Here in Morocco, Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital is seen as unfair and dangerous.
It's going to blow up because Muslims won't give up. What he did is not in the interest of peace. He's just spreading chaos.
He's taken many shocking decisions in the past, so it was expected. Now I fear the worst.
In an open letter to the American president, the Moroccan king expressed his, quote, deep personal concern on Tuesday. He wrote as the head of the 57-member Al-Quds Committee within the Organization of Islamic Cooperation.
In his letter, the king strongly urges the US to play a role and to stay committed to the pursuit of peace. To play this role as mediator, Washington must revive the peace process with a detailed blueprint and schedule.
Egyptian officials have also added to the wave of criticism, saying Trump's move could end the peace process.
The United States has decided to take sides and to address the final status issues in a way that would cancel the agenda itself. So I don't think that any peace process now should be led by the United States.
Reactions in other parts of Africa have been mixed. While the African Union has condemned Trump's decision and reiterated the organization's support for an independent Palestinian state, several countries have remained silent, including Senegal, which presides the UN Committee on the Exercise of the Inalienable Rights of the Palestinian People. Other countries have expressed support for Trump's move, lawmakers from Ghana and Tanzania going as far as saying that several African countries could also move their embassies to Jerusalem.
Zimbabwe has launched its first budget since Robert Mugabe resigned as president last month. Government spending ballooned during the 37 years he was in power and was in part responsible for the collapse of the currency and the country's economy. Relations with international lenders and investors were shot by endemic corruption and restrictive laws on foreign ownership of businesses. Many Zimbabweans are hoping to see the new government move quickly in reviving the country's battered economy. Oliver Matthews tells us more.
One of the big things to come out of this statement was the change to the indigenization law, and that law had said that any company worth more than $500,000 had to cede majority shares to locals. It was seen as a serious impediment to foreign investment. Now the policy will only apply to platinum and diamond mines, so there will be hopes that investors might now come back. The other key thing is the commitment to cost cutting within the government, things like reducing the number and the size of Zimbabwean embassies abroad, making sure government officials never travel first class, and retiring civil servants above the age of 65. You know, the former president, Robert Mugabe, was well known for his overseas trips. He was traveling overseas around once a month and taking huge delegations with him. And he was doing that even though Zimbabwe was and still is starved of foreign currency. So cutting down on travel will be seen as very significant by Zimbabweans. And I think they'll be hoping that this means the new government is serious about reforms and belt tightening.
So it's a new government, but some pretty familiar faces. That's Patrick Chinimasa, who is once again the finance minister, the same person who until recently served in Robert Mugabe's previous cabinet. Is there a sense that he's now free to do what he wants?
He did seem upbeat and confident today. He talked about creating a new economic order for Zimbabwe. As you said, he was in the previous government. He was made finance minister by Mugabe in 2013. But many say his hands were tied. Will he now be able to do things he wasn't able to do under Mugabe's presidency? Maybe, because, for instance, today he announced that he would abolish the posts of nearly 4,000 youth officers on the government payroll who were appointed by the ruling ZANU-PF. That was something he had tried to do earlier this year, but Mugabe overturned that decision. So many may be heartened by this budget. But there are skeptics. The opposition politician Tendai Biti, who was a former finance minister in a previous coalition government, believes that no ZANU-PF government can live within its means. Will this be the case now with Mnangagwa in power? I think we'll just have to wait to find out.
Oliver Matthew there for us in Harare. In news in brief, in Liberia, the Supreme Court has denied a request by both the ruling party and the opposition Liberty Party for a rerun of the first round of presidential elections. The court said that it wasn't convinced that there was enough evidence of alleged fraud in the October 10th vote. Current Vice President Joseph Boakai and challenger George Weah will face a runoff vote to replace President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf next year. Kenya's Attorney General's warned opposition leader Raila Odinga that his supporters' plans to hold a mock swearing into the presidency next week would be seen as treason. Odinga boycotted October's rerun of presidential elections, originally held in August, then overturned by the Supreme Court. He says he doesn't recognize President Uhuru Kenyatta's victory. Niger's evacuated more than 500 nationals from Libya as part of an urgent repatriation plan for the African Union to send home more than 20,000 Africans stuck in detention camps there. Niamey hopes to return at least 4,000 people. Other countries from the continent have started rolling out their own repatriation programs, with Nigeria having returned 144 people this week and Rwanda offering to take around 30,000 illegal migrants who suffered abuse in Libya whilst hoping to make the dangerous sea journey to Europe. And Senegal's opened a new airport not far from Dakar. International Airport Blaise Diagne faced more than 10 years of delays before its runways were finally ready on Thursday. The country's hoping to become a travel hub for the region, and the site, which cost around $575 million, is 5 times bigger than the old one. That's been closed and handed over to the military. Well, the Africa 2017 forums kicked off in Sharm el-Sheikh. Heads of state and big names in business from across the continent have met in Egypt for the event in the hopes of tackling some of the obstacles and opportunities to growth and investment in Africa. Now, instability can be a particularly difficult hurdle to overcome when trying to woo foreign capital. 2 years on from the end of civil war in Mali, security is still an issue. But it is hoping to highlight the young, forward-thinking spirit that exists in its young entrepreneurs. Our correspondent's been to meet one such businesswoman.
Every day in this small factory, workers squeeze, filter and mix 3,000 litres of fruit juice. This is one of the most popular flavours.
This juice is called Warrior. It's a blend of moringa, mint, hibiscus and baobab.
Once ready, the juice is bottled. It was an easy decision for company founder Aissata Diakhaté to open her business in Mali. It's here where the ingredients were easiest to find, cutting costs.
It's a sign of its quality that we don't use any colours or preservatives. Every day, the team and the whole company test and taste the product recipes. That's how we can guarantee the quality.
Can we go and try some?
Of course.
After tasting, Diakhaté goes into the conference hall to set up her stand. She's invested a huge amount in this business, mostly in equipment.
In terms of investment, we've spent about 450,000 euros. It's taken 5 years of development to get the business to the stage you see it today. Bit by bit, we've invested to get the correct equipment, but we need more investment to shore up the supply chain.
Amongst future purchases, a new generator. The power unit should help keep production going even if there's a power cut, which happens often, even in the capital. And that's not just a problem for Diakati's company, but for any business forced to make do with Mali's unreliable power supply.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks very much for joining us, and do so again if you can. Take care.